Can you see my screen? Is my
No, sir.
screen visible to you?
No, sir. No, sir.
Huh?
No, sir.
No. Okay, okay.
Yes, sir,
Now
it's
it's
visible.
now it's
Yes,
visible.
sir.
You can see that if we find out that there is a change in my workload, that is I have to go for auto scaling of my resources. Now auto scaling is of two options. Either I can increase on my existing resources or I can go for spawning. Spawning means taking new instances. Now, taking new instances is also, again also of two kinds. Either I can go for the instances of higher template, means higher instance configuration level, or I can which where the number of instances will be less. Or another option is that I can go for the lower number of instances with the lower configuration level, where the cost will be little less. The cost will be little less. So you can see that if you go for mitigate the workload, here you require only 29 M4 large, which cost around $2,500. And instead of this, if you take T2 dot medium, so the cost will come around $59. Sorry, $2,200, and the 59 T2 dot medium is required. So here it is obvious that the rest of the portions which are not required at all. So this is actually the example of right sizing. Is it clear? Or shall I explain it again?
Clear, sir.
Now another thing also I have discussed about the AWS Lambda. Now can you anybody tell me what AWS Lambda actually does? What is the function of AWS Lambda?
Sir, they fully manage the serverless compute.
Fully?
Manage the serverless compute.
So easy, it's a technical term that you have copied from the text or my slides. I want to understand that what you have understood regarding this AWS Lambda.
Sir,
Sir,
it is one of
runs.
the service that falls under the
Sir,
complete
it
domain of
is a
service.
serverless.
Serverless, what? Yeah.
Sir, it's serverless service.
Sir, runs the code flawlessly without a need for server.
No, server is there, but we don't have to configure about the server. AWS will take care of the server option. Means that without any server, we can compute and run and execute our code. We don't have to bother about which platform is required, which hardware configuration is required, which software configuration is required to run my application. And one case study also we have shown to you. You can remember that if I want to take the pictures in the runtime, and if I want to identify or recognize the object. So that case, what we can do that we are taking the picture from the mobile apps, and after that we are storing it to AWS S3 bucket, and it goes to AWS Lambda function. AWS Lambda function is connected with the necessary API which you have built. And if you have not built, that case AWS has its own API present, which is called AWS Recognizer. So they are taking the help of AWS Recognizer and recognizing the object and immediately gives results back to you. Now here you can see that there is no mentioning of the what kind of server you require to recognize this object in runtime. And another advantage is that right now you are taking only one photograph per second. Now, if you are instead of a photo, if you want to recognize a video, which is a 4000K, that means HD quality video, that case the number of frames per second will be more than 100. Now, that case from 1 pictures per second to it will increase up to 100 pictures per second. Now, how to recognize and how to analyze those 100 pictures per second? That case, your internal or intrinsic server capacity must be higher. So you don't have to bother about it. AWS will bother about it, this one, and it will increase the server capacity and also check and the quality through that AWS recognizer API and give you the result. Okay, is this clear? AWS Lambda? Students?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So next important thing is the beanstalk. So already you have done your projects or one experiment in beanstalk. So what is your basic idea about beanstalk? Can anybody speak out? What is your basic idea? What you have done in beanstalk?
Sir, here in web application in different platform.
Creating only, not only, yeah, creating web application in different platform. That case, you don't have to bother about the platform, right? The platform will be available to you. You just have to select the platform, right? And you have some template pages are also available. Now, if you want to remove those pages and if you want to put your own pages, that can also be done. So, Elastic Beanstalk is a platform as a service which can be quickly deployable, scalable, and which will help you to manage your web apps also. And it reduces the management complexity. Means that why the management complexity is been reduced. Suppose for your web application, these these softwares are required. Now, whenever I install those softwares, I find out that this software is not compatible with this software, or this software is not compatible with this software. So again, to make it compatible, I have to change the version, or I have to install some new patches. And after that, whenever I find out the compatibility, after that I can say that okay, I can go for the deployment of all my web application. In case of Elastic Beanstalk, you don't have to bother about this one. If you need PHP and if you need MySQL integrated with this PHP, so everything will be configured with that one, with the latest version of MySQL and PHP. Even it will check that, even you can choose your database also, and the type of checking the database, it will suggest you that okay, you have taken PHP, so for you the best database will be either MySQL or DynamoDB, or you can go for PostgreSQL. So this will be the best option. But if you want to take any other database also, then it will also give you that option. But it will tell you that your system may run slower or faster or whatever it may be. Okay, now for your application, if it requires more hardware capacity, that is also be done with the auto scaling option, and you can update your application. Update your applications means right now you have 6 menus or 6 modules are there. You want to upgrade it to 10 modules, that can also be possible. You can access the server log files. You can enable the HTTPS on load balancer. Now, what do you mean by the enabling the HTTPS on load balancer? Means that suppose if your application is taking huge amount of resources, that your resource utilization is high, and in that case, one option is that you have to migrate or transfer some of your loads to your low loaded instances which are not that much loaded. So that is actually called the load balancing opportunity. Now, if you do for the load balancing, that case, what will happen that whenever you are transferring some of your application part in some other instances, that case, every time you have to have a huge amount of data transfer between these two instances. So in by this period, when you are transferring your data, so there is a chances of your security breach, or there is a chances of just hacking. So that case, what you have to do that whenever you are sending your data, you have to enable the HTTPS, HTTP with a security, with the which will enabling HTTPS means what? Whatever data will go, it will go in a secured mode, means it will go in an encrypted manner. So that at the time of transferring data from one instance to another instance, there should not be any possibility of hacking. So you can enable that HTTPS instantly. Otherwise, you have to configure HTTPS. So these are the features which you can have through Elastic Beanstalk. Okay. Now support a large range of platform like packet builder. Packet builder is one platform. Then single container, multi-container, pre-configured Docker. So do you know the meaning of single container, multi-container, and pre-configured Docker? Anybody have any idea? If you don't have any idea, please tell. I'll explain.
No, sir.
Earlier I have discussed about the Docker and container, right? If you can remember, what do you mean by the Docker and container? So there is your hardware. On top of the hardware, you have your operating system. And on top of the operating system, what you have done that you have created your Docker engine. And remember, Docker is an engine, right? On top of the Docker, you are creating different applications. Application 1, this is AP1, this is AP2, this is AP3, application 3. Now these applications, sorry. Now these applications with the necessary API, if I connect the necessary API, so that this application becomes a independent deployable object or a packaged object, then it becomes a container. Application with necessary API is called a container. Now basic concept is that hardware is there. On top of the hardware, I have the operating system. On top of the operating system, I have the Docker engine. And on top of the Docker engine, I have different application 1, application 2, or application 3. And if the application is packaged with the necessary API patches or your kernel portion, kernel API, so that will become a container. That container is ready-made. It can run in any platform. You can put it from this Docker engine to some other Docker engine, it will run. From this machine to other machine, it will run. From this environment to other environment, it will run. Okay. But what do you mean by single container? If I have a one container, that is called single container. If I have multiple container, that is a multiple container. And if I have a pre-configured Docker, because at the time of installing the Docker also, I need to check that whether this Docker will work on macOS platform or Windows platform. So if I want a macOS compatible Docker, I can get it as a pre-configured Docker. If I want a Windows compatible Docker, yes, I can get it as a pre-configured Docker. Now is this clear, student? Single container, multiple container, and pre-configured Docker. Any question, please ask me.
Sir, as you said that, sir, hello.
Bolo? Yeah, I can hear
Sir,
you.
as you said that we can pre-configure Docker for operating systems like macOS and Windows. So
Yeah.
Docker image can run on any operating system, no?
Yeah. But the thing is that the macOS Docker is different.
Okay.
But the container on top of, suppose on top of the macOS Docker, you have created one container, right? If that container you can take it and put it on top of your Windows Docker, it will run, no issue. But the Windows Docker will not run on macOS Docker. Sorry, the Windows Docker will not run on the macOS platform.
Okay, sir.
Because the hardware architecture is separate. In case of Windows, we use the x86 processor architecture. x86 family is basically the Intel family, or we use AMD processor architecture. But in case of Mac OS, what they use their own processor. A10, A11, A12, this type of several names are there. I am not so much conversant with Mac. If you check on the configuration of the Mac processor, you can find it out.
So, but currently Macs are using Intel processors only. They have not
So
shifted
Mac is using
for
Mac is using Intel processor. Are you sure? I'm not confirmed.
they are still
So if they are using x86 architecture, that case the Mac Docker and Windows Docker will be the same. You just check it whether it is an Intel processor or something else processor. If the processor architecture is same, because you know that there are two kinds of processor are there. One is RISC, another is CISC. Reduced instruction set computing, another is complex instruction set computing. Now, in case of reduced instruction set computing, suppose for an application, if I need 1,000 lines of hex code, so through RISC, what they do that they change it to 40 lines of hex code. But in case of complex instruction set of computing, they have only the 1,000 lines of hex code. Now, if your processor is a RISC, that and for that whatever code you have written, that code is not going to run on a CISC processor. So your code, you have to check it whether it is for the x86 processor or for the x86 family or for the other family. Okay. Harshit, am I able to clarify your doubt?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's a very good question. Any other question? Any other question, student? Single container, multi-container, pre-configured Docker, all are clear to you? Can I move?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there is another platform is also there, Go. I am not that much conversant with Go, but yeah, Java SC, Java with Tomcat, these are the several platforms. Even when the drop-down menu comes, you can find it out that Java with Tomcat is also there, .NET on Windows Server with IIS, Node.js platform, or PHP, or Python, or Ruby. Even right now, this list has increased also. So you can take any one of the platform as per your choice. And the most beautiful thing is that you don't have to pay a single amount for your elastic beanstalk. You have to pay only for your underlying services. It's a good thing. That means they are providing, and actually why they are providing it free of cost, because all those platforms these are only your open source platform. So for installing those platform on a pre-configured hardware architecture, they don't have to pay anything. But as you know that if it is an open source platform, open source software, which we have to configure in your system, that case you have to spend a lots of time. So they are reducing your time only. They are helping you with a pre-configured hardware as well as software platform environment, so that you can concentrate on your codes only. So here, the next figure, it will be much more clearer to you. In the Elastic Beanstalk, they are providing you the host hardware architecture. They are giving you the language interpreter. Means if you are installing PHP, they will give you the PHP language interpreter. If you are installing C or C++, they will give you the C compiler, C++ compiler, so that whatever you are writing in C or C++ in the high level language, it can be converted through the interpreter in a machine level language. So that platform also they are providing it to you. They are providing you the operating system and the HTTP services. Why the HTTP services is required? For load balancer. I told you earlier, na? For load balancer, if the data transfer from one instances to another instance is required, So that case, you may require to convert from HTTP data transmission to HTTPS data transmission. So it is optional. Okay, it is optional. Now they are providing you the application services, means ASP or Java or PHP, whatever application services you require, everything they are providing it to you. Only your part is this much. Only put your code over there. Entire services are free to you. Only you have to put this much of code and your entire application will be done. Suppose to install get your hardware, getting your hardware, it may take 10 to 100 days, because what type of hardware you have to procure, that depends upon you. To install your interpreter, it may take 1 day. To install your operating system, okay, it may take another 1 day. HTTP configure your application services, it may take 1 week. Okay, and after that you can again you have to check the compatibility. To check your compatibility, it may take another 1 month. After that, you can concentrate over your coding. Now it is going to save the entire time period on behalf of you. Now is this clear why the elastic beanstalk is required? Orpita, it's clear to you? Abhilash? Kamul?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any question? Okay, so the elastic beanstalk key benefits are: it's a fast and simple to begin, developer productivity, impossible to outgrow, means whatever extent you want to increase your system capacity, there is no limit. You can increase as per your choice. Complete the resource control. So the core AWS services in case of IaaS and PaaS, so this has already been discussed regarding the Amazon Virtual Private Cloud, EC2 database, DynamoDB, AWS IAM, EFS, Glacier, EBS, S3, everything has been discussed. So if you have any question regarding this, you can ask me, because next week, Wednesday, you have next class, now. Tomorrow, I think, is the holiday. Tomorrow, the classes will not happen. So next class is on Wednesday. So Wednesday, I am going to take your unit test 1. So before that, if you want, if you need a brush up session, that can also be arranged.